Welcome to the Hot Rod Hangout Podcast.
Whoop whoop.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Ashley.
And tonight we have another builder, my brother from another mother, Darien White. What's going on, man?
What's going on, dude?
You're the only one that's got a beard as big as mine.
It's not just the beard. Our face was too similar, and it scares me a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, you know, my daddy did get around, so. So, what originally got you into this crazy car obsession?
So, I started, I think I was 14. There was an S10 in the yard with a blown head gasket. It was like a 92 square body. And I was like, oh, I want to learn how to work on this. So my grandpa was like, all right. So he taught me how to do the mechanic side of stuff, and then I went to school for it. And I did, up until a few years ago, that's pretty much all I did was just bolt on stuff and like mechanic. And now people are like, oh, you're a mechanic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I appreciate it, but I'm not. I am here to build stuff that I have trouble making them run anymore. And that started the fire. And then I started seeing rat rods a few years back. I was like, okay, I think that's what I want to do. I didn't know how to weld. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go buy a welder. So I went to Harbor Freight and I bought the cheapest flux core welder they had and said, all right, I'm going to learn how to do this. That was a bad idea, and that truck never got finished. So that's where I'm at now.
So with, picking rat rods, I guess that makes it a little easier because the welds don't have to be absolutely pretty.
Yeah, they're pretty now, but in the beginning, they weren't pretty. And I went to autobody school, and they just teach you to glue everything in. There was no welding experience. So I didn't pick up a welder until, I think about 4 years ago. I picked up a welder and started trying to figure out how to do it.
Oh, most people that would be listening would know you from the Buick. Was that built for the rat rod build off, or was that just a personal build?
That was a personal build. So the original rat rod build off was supposed to be a 69 Volvo P1800 car. And I started building it. And that's about time all that extra COVID money dried up. And I was like, no, the money's not here. We can't do anything right now. So it just got pushed to the side, and I took about a year of not doing anything. And that's when I built my Datsun.
And what made you give up the project? Why did you move on to the Datsun?
So the Volvo I put it on a chassis, and I got in it, and I realized I didn't fit. And I'm like, this isn't going to work because I have to fit to drive this car. So I was like, I'm just going to push it to the side. I'm not going to do anything. And then I came across my Datsun on Marketplace, and I was still trying to figure out how to build cars because I didn't know. So I brought it home, and I set it on S10 frame, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. I couldn't do it yet. I was not ready for it. And I let it sit for a while, and then I came across a Miata, and I'd been doing some research, and I was like, you know what? I think I'll start with a body swap car. But I didn't start like a running, driving body swap car. I started with a Miata chassis on that one.
And did you go back with a Miata motor, or?
No. So the Datsun is 2.4 Chevy Ecotec swapped because I said, you know what? I need some power. So it makes double the horsepower what the Miata did.
Yeah, Miatas aren't known for their speed abilities.
Yeah, I think now it makes 200 horse versus the 100 horse.
But the Miata platform, you can do basically anything. There's so many different people have used that for so many different platforms.
And they handle so well. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. And I started my body swap on it. And that was technically the first full build thing I've ever built with my Datsun. And it has been everywhere.
So Eco Swap, so that you would have had the turbo, little baby turbo.
Nope, that one's not. The 2.4 is naturally aspirated.
Huh?
Yeah, no turbo. Didn't have to worry about it. I would like to turbo it.
So what made you want to dive into the turbo on the Buick then?
So the Buick setup was built before I started like trying to build a full car. I built that engine, that setup. I have a 97 Chevy short bed that I built that big motor for, had a built turbo 400, trans brake, full drag truck. And it just set because I'm like, I don't like driving this thing anymore. So I took everything out of it. And that motor set, and then I'm like, oh, I have this awesome motor. I'm going to shove it in the Buick.
Is there a car along the way that, got away, whether you couldn't put a deal together at the time that COVID money ran out, or a car you got rid of that you're like kicking yourself in the butt now?
Believe it or not, it's one I got rid of. I had an 2007 Chevy short bed truck, and what a great truck that was. And every day I'm like, I miss driving this thing every day. So
out of the fleet, what's the favorite car?
Oh, it's the Buick. It's so comfortable to drive. I'm just like, I can get in this and drive it 10 hours. The Datsun is great. I love it. It's very small.
Yeah.
And I'm a big guy. So after spending a while on that, you're like, this is kind of tight. But probably the Buick because it's my favorite to drive.
Well, with the Outlaw Class, that kind of leaves your options and budget and all that stuff. What's the plan for the High Class Trash?
Well, I know I'm an outlaw, but I am still poor, so I'm still saving money where I can. It is a 1940 GM truck. It's got a 39 GMC front clip on it. The front suspension on it is a 2010 Silverado 4-wheel drive. Rear suspension's a 14 bolt. It is getting a 8-speed BMW all-wheel drive transmission with selectable all-wheel drive with different drive modes and full wide body.
There's a lot of y'all in this build-off that are doing all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive stuff.
I know. I
wasn't expecting it. I know I was kind of expecting it with Simon, the guys that have built the four-wheel drive stuff prior to this. But I was absolutely surprised. A lot of y'all have mentioned either all-wheel drive or some variant of using a four-wheel drive chassis or something of keeping it high or higher.
So mine will not be high. It is actually very performant, and it sits on the ground.
Yeah,
as low as it can be.
Well, using the Chevrolet, you have control arms, so yeah, you can still.
Right now, I'm lowered. I haven't even ordered front bags yet, and my running board is 3 inches off the ground.
Proper ride height.
Proper ride height, yeah. Right now, it's not on bags. It's just lowered on the front, and it is sitting at proper ride height.
That's kind of like Ashley's 54. And I've lifted that car, but
my Buick, it rides it. It's like 2.5 or 3 in the rear frame, which is okay 90% of the time.
You just got to be a little more attentive, pulling in and out of places, and that's why I'm not really worried about with Ashley, because she's been in the car enough to know, like, oh, okay, that's a speed bump. Hit that at an angle. Oh, that's one of those driveways. I don't know if y'all have those up there in Indiana, but we have the little sloping curb between driveways.
Oh, yeah. Just stay out of those. There's certain parking lots I won't pull into. Yeah. I'm like, I don't really want to get hung up today.
And sometimes you just have to accept it. You're like, okay, it's going to slide. Let me hit it a little hard where I know I can slide across it.
And then sometimes you go on the interstate and there's those holes that you don't see.
Yeah, those are the ones that get you.
We were on the tour, and I was coming off a mountain somewhere in Kentucky, and it looked like a reverse speed bump. Oh. And it took my car and spun it. It kicked sideways going down the interstate. And I was like, oh my goodness, I broke something. Pulled over, looked, said, oh, it's good. My buddy's like, oh yeah, you just hit a big bump. I'm like, all right, rock and roll, let's send it. So, probably I had 3 inches.
Oh, you should be able to skim across bumps now. As long as your front bumper gets yours.
Yeah, I also, on this one, everything is tucked above the frame, yes. And it's actually getting a full belly pan all the way down.
That's important, because like me and you were talking before the podcast, Ashley's car, they ran the exhaust under the cross members, so obviously it drags first. But
if something's dragging, I prefer it be my frame.
It's usually preferred, but
it's the strongest of everything. So we just want that to drag. But yeah, I like them low.
So it's always better when your significant other supports your addiction. Is your wife out there helping, or does she just support moral support?
My wife is a moral support person. She's like, yeah, we actually bought a truck to build together. It's still sitting in the backyard. So I might get her to come out here one day and get her truck built, but I'm not doing anything with it until she's ready. It's a 53 Chevy 5-window.
Okay.
She saw one and said, that's what I want to build. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's find one. And everything in Indiana is very crusty.
That's been the sentiment of a lot of y'all as well, is the crustiness of y'all's stuff.
When I bought the truck for the build off, it still has all the original floor pan besides the bolt-in stuff. Like, it has all the runners and everything. I'm like, this is the nicest thing I've ever owned.
Yeah, we get a little bit of, just because of the sun and stuff like that. And then also some things that we find are in tall grass and, moisture and stuff like that. And of course, anything that's lowered. But for the most part, not like Arizona or California, they get dry, but we just deal with the normal rust.
My first came out of Kansas. I got it from another guy who's actually in the build off, Gertrat Works. I sent a buddy out to pick it up, and it is the roughest thing I've ever owned in my entire life. out of Kansas. I was really surprised how bad it was.
We were also in the same thing as me and you were talking about a little bit too, different marketplaces. I am absolutely, because some of the deals that, and I'll be the first one to admit that I've said it before. It was like, there's no way y'all are building your cars for what you're building them for. And then hearing or seeing marketplace deals up there, if you're patient, you just have to be more patient. But I like that with the build off, the blue collar, the newbies, and having that budget kind of showing everyone that you don't necessarily have to dump 30, 40 grand into a car to have something cool to get out and enjoy it. And also, the newbie class, it's kind of getting people with a little bit less practical skills and showing them that they can actually get out and have something cool, and they're learning and being able to build something that they can be proud of, go drive it. And there's going to be some cool builds in all categories of it. I don't think whenever when me and Jeremiah were first talking about it on the podcast, I was like, oh, okay, well, it's going to be, your newbies are going to kind of get the short end of the stick. But then talking to some of them, I'm like, oh no, and it's all different types. You got guys that are doing a mild, or what most would consider a mild bolt-on, minimal fabrication side of stuff, all the way down to some of y'all that are tackling, full-on chassis design, suspension design work, kind of pushing that envelope. And it's going to be cool, and me and Ashley are going to try. Can't 100% commit, but are going to try to be there to see some of y'all's builds at the end, because I'm really, really excited, and talking to y'all has kind of renewed me in hey, let's get out in the shop.
The shop has been busy. That's for sure. I've been out here a lot, trying to piece this thing together. There's so much time when it comes into, because I'm a little different than everybody. A lot of people don't go really wide on their rat rod. They'll go wide rear tires.
Yeah.
And then I'm over here and I'm like, you know what? I really like Japanese cars. I really like that style. Let's mix it into the rat rod.
And that's what I was saying is there's guys, and there's a few guys that are building stereotypical car that you would associate with a rat rod. Your Model A's, your 30s, 40s, those cars. But then to hear what their plan is, and it's like, okay, so it's not just and it's all hot rod, not just one genre of hot rods, but it's real easy to get into the, for lack of a better way to say it, cookie cutter of, okay, well, it's a Model A, so it needs to be a Bolin Brothers chassis, it needs to be a 32 grill, it needs to be this, it doesn't need to be anything, it just needs to be functional and your rendition of it. And to see or hear some of the ideas of okay, well, I'm building a Model A, and you're like, cool. And then hearing, all right, well, it's going to be this, or different types of suspension or static, or, it's very, very cool. And I hope that, that was why I was excited about having y'all on, because I get to talk to y'all. I get to talk to people, at least one of y'all every week, or one person every week. There for a little while, it was 2 or 3 of y'all a week. But it kind of renewed to me like, okay, we can go ahead and hearing, all right, I did this small little victory and it made me go, okay, well, why didn't I get nothing done? Or, man, I need to get out there and get something done on the car this week.
Yeah, that extra hype up of like, oh, there's some cool stuff. Let's get in on that kind of thing.
Well, and hearing y'all, or hearing some of the newbies, or hearing some of the first time build off guys saying like, oh, I was told I need to get in on this, and I went to the Rat Rod tour and I 100% needed to get in, I wanted to do this. And hearing, because a lot of times, you don't get, and this is why we started the podcast, was you don't hear about, you just see the final product. And like me and you were talking about with some of the bigger names, a lot of times, even though they could be the nicest person in the world, you don't think that they want to talk to you. So you don't go speak up, or you don't go talk to them or ask a question. Well, now there's 25 of y'all that are willing to share insight and, okay, well, this is how I would do it. Doesn't mean they have to do it that way, because there is no right way.
Yes, no right way at all. I still have no idea what I'm doing. I was talking to, I think, Simon or someone, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go outlaw. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, dude, why not? Because technically I could have gone blue collar class because I'm less than 5 builds on when it comes to building cars. And I was like, no, I want to go ahead and step up. I don't want any restrictions here. Let's see what can happen.
Well, and it pushes everyone. People, oh, it's a competition or it's whatever. It really isn't, because your first victory is getting the car done. Second one is making it. And the fact that he gave the time frame, because my biggest thing on build offs, whether it's a rat rod, whether it's a custom, whatever, is, you see some of these guys or some of these other build offs, and they're like, oh, it's got to be done in 8 months. Well, 8 months in a budget, it may take you 2 or 3 months to find the actual car, because you got to get it on a deal.
Oh yeah, and all of my purchases have still been deal purchases. Waiting just for the time to be right, to buy the right parts for the right time.
And we've all bought stuff, and then, I famously say, like, I'll buy something and then you see it the next day for $100 cheaper. Closer.
Yeah, I bought my cab for this build. Pretty solid cab, but I was missing the windshield frame. And those are really hard to come by, believe it or not, for a 40 Chevy truck. And I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I want a windshield frame because I want the pop-up.
All right.
And then my buddy's like, hey, dude, I just found this honey hole. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll go to the honey hole with you. And we get there, and there's like 5 of them. 5 cabs that are really nice, have the frame, and have the inside pieces I need. And I was like, oh. He's like, he'll sell them. And I'm like, I've already bought mine. We're just going to ride mine out. Yep. It has already earned its place.
Well, I mean, that's the Cadillac. Is I got a whole bunch, I told you before, and I've told the podcast, it came with an S load of trim, and a lot of the trim I'm not using. I'm shaving most of the trim, but there was certain trim around the windows specifically, and I couldn't find it, and it may be out there, but I don't necessarily know what I'm looking for when it's off the car. And up in Georgia, there's a auto salvage junkyard scrap guy, and he doesn't crush old stuff. And I had asked Psycho, the guy that's painting the car, I say, man, does he have a 61 Caddy out there? Because I really wanted to do a 61 front bumper to get the round lights. And he's like, yeah, there's one out there. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, but I already got the bumpers off of it. And I was like, damn. Well, we went up there that week that I was up there, and come to find out, it's not a 61, it's a 62, which both of them would have worked either way for what I needed, the trim, but it has every piece of windshield and back window trim that I need. And I didn't have the money for it that day, but put it in your head and like, okay, if I need something, I got that car, I can go snatch something off of it. And when we started getting into the paint and stuff, I realized the hood had some cancer that was previously packed with Bondo, and I obviously, when it was flat black, you couldn't tell, but now that it went down to bare metal, you could. And so I was like, all right, well, let's look at this hood. It's the exact same, so that tells me that that's where Cadillac's rot is, in that same manner on the hood and on the trunk. But now I know if I need some trim or I need something or I need interior or whatever, that car's out there. So even just finding that, as you said, honey hole for a future, even if you just put it in the back of your mind for, hey, I remember that guy had that.
Yeah, like I was talking to a friend, and I wasn't originally going to run on this build-off truck. I wasn't going to run a front clip. I was going to do like tubular style, completely roll cage. And then I was talking to my buddy Chance because I was trying to buy a front clip off of his Plymouth. I was like, hey man, why don't you sell that front clip? He said, well, I got a 39 GMC front clip I'll sell you. I'm like, well, I don't need that for my hearse, but I do need that. And then I ended up running down and getting it from him. So that was fantastic.
I was kind of surprised that he didn't throw his hat in the ring for this.
Yeah, I was really surprised by it, but I know he's got the Model A now and trying to get it finished up, and then he's got a service truck. I'm like, oh, okay. He just probably doesn't want to bite off more than he can chew.
Yeah. Oh, and that's easy to do.
Oh, there's a full shop of stuff that needs finished, of other builds I have going on right now. I'm like, oh, I'm going to bite off more than I can chew.
Well, I think the opportunity for growth, the opportunity to hang out with some of these guys that you're not going to run into, because a lot of y'all are located semi near each other. But then there's a lot of y'all that are spread out. And I know when we go places, and that's kind of what we try to do with our show, is I want it to be the show up and see people that you either aren't going to see for another year or maybe never see again, you know. And when we go to shows, like, I like catching up with Corey, I like catching up with Saw, I like catching up with these people that, you know, Saw Customs is 3 hours from us, but very rarely are we at the same shows because they're busy doing their stuff, we're busy doing our stuff, and, you know, we try to support their show. They came to our show that last year, but a lot of times, you know, like Slamfest, they're not coming down to Slamfest. We're not traveling to the shows that they travel to. Corey and Hannah, the only time we're going to catch up with them is at Turkey. Yeah,
and you know they do a lot of the truck shows and stuff like that, and to catch them most of the time is at their show.
Right.
If I go for their show, I catch them, but seeing them, like, Corey and Hannah are an hour from me. I'll see them 3 or 4 times this year.
Yeah. And again, it's, and it's always good to catch up. It's always good to talk. It's always good to kind of figure out what everybody's doing. But also it's good to see what other people that you don't necessarily run into all the time are up to. You might get an idea or make a friend that you can call. A lot of guys have said, when I started this, I seen Simon at the rat rod build off, and first thing I noticed was he was saying hey to everybody, and everybody just commenting on how good of a guy he was. And funny story, I wanted to talk to him I probably wanted to reach out to him for like a year and never did, just because it was like, oh, what he doesn't know me. I'm just reaching out of the blue. And come to find out, he's one of the most down-to-earth persons you can talk to.
Simon's super cool. I talked to him online for quite a while before I even ever met him.
And then Corey and Hannah the same way. We started as a fan, because it's another couple that does what we do. And my wife loves teal. Hannah does everything teal. So they already had that in common. But, we ran into them at Turkey one time. And since then, if we're at the same show, it's always catching up. Hey, how's it going? How's everything going? How's the mousetrap? How's this? How's the welding rig? The funniest story was, and I've said it on the podcast a few times, but the bad apple. When Ashley won her bad apple, she was walking up to the stage with Hannah trying to convince her that she won a trophy when her name got called. And then they're both arguing with the guy that it can't be them that won the trophies.
Yeah, actually, the same thing happened at WrestleMania with Hannah. Hannah won Best Paint at WrestleMania one year. And we're just sitting there talking like they were doing awards or whatever. We're just hanging out. And we're like, no, that's her. And we're just like, what?
Yep.
And she got called. We just weren't paying any attention to it.
Her and Jackie were sitting on the Army truck. And, I was hanging out with Ed Rat at the Model A Mafia guys. And, I knew they were going to win something. They have really cool stuff. And we hear Hannah Wheat and turn around, and she's just talking away, like, didn't even hear nothing. So Ashley walks back and I was like, hey, you won something. Are you sure? They didn't say Corey? And no, it was you, welding rig. Okay. So they're walking up, and I hear Ashley Boys. I'm like, couldn't have been her name. 54 Shirley. I'm like, there's more than one. Orange Patina. And I'm like, that's what I wrote. So I'm like, hey, you got a trophy now too. Go get you. And they're up there talking to the guy like, are you sure you called our names? I was like, was it your cards? Yeah. Well, you won then. Like, and those are the type of people that I love talking to because they're down to earth. It's not Corey would never say it out loud, but Corey builds really cool stuff. Simon builds really cool stuff. All of y'all in your own rights build really awesome stuff. But y'all will also sit down and have a conversation with anyone because y'all were all in that same boat.
Yeah, I feel like people get so worried about talking to, some of these higher up people, and they're cool. Like, don't be scared to talk to somebody. That's like one of my biggest pieces of advice is, have you heard of the name Mikey Brown before?
Yes.
Okay, so Mikey is a very dear friend of mine. And he's like, man, I like going to shows and stuff. But people are always like, oh, that's Mikey Brown. And then they get worried to talk to him. And I'm like, yeah, I sit here and talk to you for hours. They need to not be scared of it.
But it is, and it's, And I mean, and like I said before the podcast, it's imposter syndrome. You know, people have reached out to me, and I'll leave the name out, but he's very well known, and he's sending me YouTube videos like I don't know who he is, and I'm telling Ashley, I'm like, why is he? Of course, like we know exactly who he is. We've followed him forever. And get him on the podcast, and I mean the dude's a legend in this world, but we'll sit down and have a conversation with anyone. We'll gladly sit down and share knowledge. And it's not, you know, he doesn't necessarily gain anything other than a friend that's across the country that now he can rely on if he runs into something that he ain't ran into. All it is about building knowledge across the board. And it doesn't take, you know, that 10, 15 minute conversation that somebody has with me doesn't take away anything from what they're doing. But what it does do is if they have a question or if they need something or if they're ever in Florida or somewhere near me, hey man, I'm over here and I need this, or hey, I need a hand, or hey, what do you think of this? I'm here. And it just makes the community grow, and that's really what we're all trying to do, because without growing the community and continuing on, this is going to go away.
Yes, it's gotta continue. Talk to people. Don't be worried about who they are. Most of the time they're really cool. Occasionally you might get some guy who's not the nicest, but 9 times out of 10 you're gonna be all right.
Well, and a lot of times, and I was told when we first started, somebody told me like, oh, the first time you get recognized and you're not at a local show, it'll blow your mind. And I'm like, it's never gonna happen. And I still, to this day, anytime anybody says my name that I'm not 100% like certain who they are, it still trips me out. Or, hey, I'm not trying to bother you. And I'll say it publicly on the podcast. If you walk up to me and talk to me about your car, you're never bothering me. I don't care what I'm doing. If you want to talk cars, it is never a bother. Because who knows what can come of it. Because a lot of times a different perspective will help me along the way. You know, me and you were talking about different suspension designs that you were kind of lulling over in your head. And I gave you an option that you didn't even know was a thing.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, oh.
And, you know, the first time I talked to Psycho, which, because I have a buddy that I went to high school with. When we were in high school, everything he owned was on air. When I told him I was building a Model A and I was going to hide air ride, he's like, you don't want to do air riding. And I'm like, yeah, but I do. And I thought he was just meaning because, you know, of leaks or this or that. And he was like, no, you want to put it on hydraulics. I'm like, I don't want to hop this car. And he's like, you don't have to hop it, dude. Do this. And I was like, okay. And then I was still kind of lulling it over. But then when I talked to Psycho, and he's like, my car's 12 volts. He's like, I just recently put a second battery. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it used to run on just the car battery. I was like, oh, that's absolutely nuts. I would never even have thought that was an option.
Yeah, I thought you needed an entire trunk full of batteries.
All the voltage does is increase the speed. And if you're just doing a basic setup, I mean, it is with what is readily available, but this also goes back to that same, you know, you have to be patient. What's readily available, you need at least 24 volts. to be able to get any amount of speed out of it. But at the end of the day, all that stuff is still 12 volts. It's a hydraulic pump. It's a 12-volt hydraulic pump. And I'm not going to claim to know everything about hydraulics, but I'm fortunate, again, another thing, I have people that I can call and rely on and ask questions, and they don't, they just give me information. It's not like oh, you're stupid, because that doesn't help anything. Me or anyone else making somebody feel less, maybe that's the one thing. And I don't care what you have. If you're a guy that, you're a family guy and you don't have the extra income, so you have to have one car, and that car has to be your daily and your family car and all-inclusive car, and it's a Honda, but you're proud of it, come tell me about it. Because that guy may be one person from getting told that, if it ain't of this, you're not worthy, from saying, well, why do I even want to be a part of this? You owe it. I have a banner that goes to car shows with us, and somewhere in this field is a kid that wants to be you. You owe it to him to be the best version of you can be. We owe it to each other it doesn't cost anything to be nice. It doesn't cost anything to talk to somebody or answer somebody's question that may not know something.
Oh yeah, I love the questions. Well, how do you do this? How do you do this? I will tell you exactly how I did it. That way you can figure it out. Because when I started, I didn't really have anybody. I'm like, what do I do here?
Well, and a lot of it's, the whys. What you get with Ashley's car specifically. It's a patina car. The paint on the bottom of that car is from 1954. Well, are you going to restore it? Probably not. Is it going to get paint? Maybe. More than likely now, yes. But at the time, it was, no. We're going to drive it until she decides what she wants to do with it. If she wants to paint it, we'll paint it. Do a little bit of, rust repair and stuff like that, and we'll move on. But you don't have to, we had put her car in a car corral probably 2 years ago now. And the guy's like, oh, that's way too much money for that car. Why? Oh, because it needs a full restoration. I'm like, well, why would you restore it? It drove here.
It's a driver. I'm not going to, if I restore something, it's going to sit in my shop.
It wasn't Elvis's. It wasn't, it wasn't the car that was at the assassination of Kennedy. It's nothing special. It doesn't have any cultural significance. So no, that's not the car that you put 20 or 30 grand in to bring it back to make it pretty. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be worth 20 or 30 grand. I don't care what you do to it.
Now I have a square body I got. It's a 78 K10 truck. It's not something I'm going to drive. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this really nice and drive it occasionally. And that's not normally like me, but I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I can have one of those. I can have a shiny car.
Well, and it's also, you get, and my Harley is a prime example of this. I put way too much money in that bike. It is worth way less than I have in it. But it was my first bike. I never planned to get rid of it. I know that it's not worth to anyone else besides me. It's not worth what it is. And I'm okay with that. I don't need anybody to come pay me for it. I don't need any, I'm not trying to, we're not, very rarely do you ever get your money back that you put into something? But I'm also not looking to put 20 or 30 grand and lose 10 grand. I'm going to get my enjoyment out of it. And then I'm going to pass it on and try to lose as least amount of money as I can. But some cars, it's okay just for it to be a driver. It's okay. It's okay if your car has to be shiny, buy a car that's better quality. Start with something better. Because it's way cheaper to start with something better than to try to bring back something that you save. You save $500 now, but it's going to cost you $10,000 to get it to where you're saving your $500. Just doesn't make sense.
Way cheaper to buy something nicer.
I'm like, these people, and I hate to say it, but TV shows, man. You got, and you can fill in the blank, any of them, but it's like, you paid how much for that car? No, you didn't. You're lying. But now somebody sees that and they go, well, my 57 Chevrolet that's got a tree growing through it, it's worth 30 grand because Richard Rawlins paid that for it. Well, no, he didn't. Discovery did.
I won't buy anything 1 to 2 months until after a Meekum or a Barrett Jackson auction.
Well, let's not even get on the auction.
For some reason, everyone's like, "Yep, this is a 20 grand car."
Well, I mean, a good example, and this is for anybody that doesn't know the backstory of the $1 million Lincoln that just sold. That was an absolutely beautiful car. It was not $1 million car. I hate to break it to you, and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I saw
guys.
pictures of it, and I was like, nope, I don't see $1 million there.
Do you know the backstory of the car?
No, I didn't know there was a backstory to it.
He just bought that car in October for 90 grand.
And didn't do anything to it?
He put a new interior in it and did the Coyote swap.
Yeah,
that's it. That's a good profit. That's a good profit margin.
That's a really good profit margin.
But what happened was two guys with really large bank accounts wanted that car. And they decided that, or one of them decided that it didn't matter how much it cost, he was going to own it. Because me, Ashley, my mom and dad went to Meekum down here. And there was 3 32 Ford coupes back to back to back. The first one sold for 80 grand. Second one sold for, I think, 72 or 73. The third one didn't reach reserve and only got bid up to 30,000. And the third one was probably the nicest one.
Yeah, those auctions, I'm like, I'll watch bits and pieces from them, and I'm like, this is crazy.
And a lot of it is people bidding. I want that car. It doesn't matter what it cost. But there's also the inverse of that, because I have a few friends that are in the world of building Riddler, America's Best, those type cars. And I've seen some of their builds go across auctions and sell for under 100 grand, knowing that there's $500,000 in that car. And I was talking to one of the guys the other day, probably about a month ago. And I said, dude, if I had the money to spend, I don't, but if I had $250,000 to spend on a car, and I give you $250,000 and I take it to auction 3 months after it's built and I get 80 grand for it, I'm finding a short bridge to take a long walk. What do you mean? And he's like, yeah, but that's what it is. Like it was meant to, they have the money and they don't care. it's their way of making it, making up money. They wrote that car off for 3 years while it was being built. And I'm like, I can't fathom that, because I don't have that much money. But to me, and also and I've had this same conversation with guys that own shops. I've had a couple buddies that I've always said that I don't ever want to build cars for people. I'll build me a car, and if you want it, you can buy it. But I don't want to build a car for somebody. And I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and he closed his shop. And I said, man, like, every time I talk to you, dude, you were busy. Like, why are you closing? He goes, because I can't justify the money. He's like, I was having I really, really struggled the last 3 years that we were in business to justify the money. And I'm like, I don't understand. And he explained it to me he's like, I might have, 30 hours in a bed, getting a bed perfectly straight so I can paint it. I said, okay. He goes, but it doesn't look any different to that person than the last time they seen it. So if I charge them $100 an hour, that's $3,000. And they don't see a difference. He's like, so you end up billing less to try to justify the price. He goes, but you spent 30 hours on that car. You spent 30 hours doing it. So if you lessen yourself, now you're not getting paid what you need to get paid to pay the bills to make somebody happy, because they don't see 30 hours worth of work. Or fabbing a part. You spend 20 or 30 hours, 40, 50, 60 hours on designing a suspension geometry. And somebody comes and looks at it and goes, well, you just put 4 bars there. Well, yeah, but it's 4 bars and the rear end the pinion angle stays exactly where it's supposed to the whole cycle. And this, and this. Well, yeah, but it's just 4 bars. It's hard to justify $150 an hour shop rate, or $100 shop rate even. You're seeing
when it comes to custom cars, it's crazy when you're like, I have to pay how much for that?
And also because the builds take so long, the people change their mind. I've heard the horror story from numerous builders. I had the car, I had the truck or car and paint. It's done. We're final assembling it. I'm, sending it to the interior guy for him to put the interior in it, and we're fixing to deliver this truck. And they come in and go, hey, I was at a car show last weekend, and they did a flush mount filler cap for the fuel tank in the fender. Can I do that? No, the truck's painted. Oh, so I can't do that? No. Or, hey, somebody mounted, I seen an iPad in the dash of an F100. Can I do that? No, your dash is already painted and it's installed in the truck. Like, we're getting ready to give you the keys to this and tell you to drive it away. Oh, but that's what I want. Okay, well, now rip the dash back out, do that modification, put it back in. Well, I don't necessarily like how that looks. Could you do it this way? And you're never going to... There's so many different visions. You're never going to be able to make somebody else's vision exact.
And my stuff, my visions and I build them myself, and they're completely different when they're done.
Right. And a build evolves. a build evolves, whether it can't work the way that it was originally intended, or it works better this way, or you learned along the way, and now what you used to do, you have a better way to do it and a better result or a different result.
Like this truck I'm building now was supposed to be, originally was just going to be a 4-speed automatic, like a 4L80 or possibly a 6L80, 6-speed. And then I said, you know what would be really cool? An 8-speed automatic. and it's crazy because it just changes your price point so much because it changes all kinds of stuff. Like my engine management, I'm still crying about that. I haven't purchased it yet because I talked to the dealer and he told me the price. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll let you know on that, just because I was blown away by how much it was going to cost.
Well, is there a show or event that you try to make every year?
2 I have to make that I won't not go to is Rat Stock, of course, and Rustamania by Village Custom.
Is there a show or event that you've never made that you would like to make?
Yes, it would be Rat City Ruckus is on my list.
Well, before we get out of here, what is one piece of advice that you would give somebody that's trying to get into the car culture?
Don't let other people get you down about what you're building, and don't be afraid to talk to people about their stuff.
Very good. Well, is there anybody that you would like to give a shout out to before I run through our short list of advertisers?
Yeah, that'd be my wife, who made dinner about an hour ago. Is probably ready to hurt me because I haven't went in and ate yet. So big shout out to her for dealing with everything.
That's for. Well, make sure you go show Throttle Addict some love. Use the code word Hot Rod. You can save 15% off. Johnny Jalopy, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. JohnnyJalopy.com. Also, Wrenching for the Future, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And Psycho Fab. All right, well, till next time, guys, get out and drive your shit. Later.